Hello, it's Dave. I've got another game here for us. This will be a Caro-Kann. It'll be the Bronstein-Larsen variation. And this will be the ECO code of B16. This game is played on the FICS by two expert players. Our themes will be coordination of pieces, and correct capture. So let's take a look at the game. White opens with E4, C6, D4, D5, knight to D2, D takes E4, knight takes E4, knight to F6, knight takes F6, and G takes F6. This is the beginning position of the Bronstein-Larsen variation. Next move is knight to F3, and now bishop to G4. And black wants to quickly bring out all of his pieces to its best squares. And what he's got in mind is he's going to bring this knight to D7, and not necessarily in this order, but he'll bring the pawn to E6, the bishop to D6, queen to C7, and then he'll castle queenside, and then he'll bring these two rooks to bear on the king side down the H and G files. So that's pretty well what he has in mind, and let's see how the game progresses. Next move for white is bishop to E2. Black plays E6, castle by white, bishop to D6, developing the bishop, H3, attacking the bishop, bishop retreats to H5, bishop to E3, knight to D7, and now white plays C4. And white pretty well knows that in this variation that black will try to castle queenside, so he wants to get his pawns moving on that side of the board to facilitate his attack against the black king. And the closer his pawns are to the black king, the better chances that he will be able to break through before black will on the king side. Next move is queen to C7, lining up the queen and bishop as a nice battery here against the H2 square. Next move is rook to C1, bringing the rook, which will be in direct line with the black queen and eventually the black king. And you'll see here as he castles, the rook is directly in front of the queen and rook. Next is D5. White would like to capture on C6, opening up lines on that queen side. And of course black does not want to open up the queen side, so he pushes the pawn to C5. Next is queen to B3, looking for some kind of extra play here on the queen side. Next is rook at H to G8. Black begins his counterplay with looking at the G2 square. White retreats the queen. I guess he had the idea that he might need that queen on the king side to help defend. Next is bishop takes F3, and now bishop takes F3. And black plays knight to E5 with the idea that he could capture this knight, and white would be unable to recapture because of the pin on the G file. So white must retreat the bishop to E2. Next is rook to G7 with the idea of doubling his rooks. White plays F4, attacking the knight. The knight jumps to H6, and now F5. Knight to H4, and now bishop to G4. And white has his bishop lined up against the black king. He also has, for the moment, has closed the G file, but not very long, because black's next move is H5. And now white plays bishop to F2, attacking the knight. And black has a decision to make. He has to either retreat this knight someplace, or he's going to have to go ahead and exchange H takes G4 the bishop. And if you look at the position, you really think what's all there. Black's plan is to open up the files on the king side, and that is more important than the knight at H4. So he will capture with his pawn H takes G4. Excuse me. White plays bishop takes H4, and now G takes F3, and black has won a pawn, and he's threatening an attack here on the G2 square. White plays rook to F2, defending the pawn. Black plays bishop to H2 with check. The king goes to H1, and now rook at d to g8, and black's rooks are doubled, adding more and more pressure to the king side. Excuse me again. White plays g3, and now black plays bishop takes g3. White plays bishop takes f6, hoping to exchange these rooks, reducing the number of attacking pieces, and possibly with that in mind he might be able to still defend. He still has his queen and rook who can swing over and help defend, but he's going to have to get a few moves before he's able to do that. So white had, like I said, the game move was bishop takes f6, and again black has a decision to make. Either he should move up his rook or exchange pieces, and his best move is bishop takes f2, bishop takes g7 with an exchange of rooks, and now black plays queen to g3, and this is the key to black's exchange. He's able to bring the queen into play, and in the game at this point white actually resigned. There's two main variations, and one of them is queen to e4, and this leads to a mate in 6, and the best move, which also still leads to a mate, is queen takes f2. Queen takes f2, queen takes f2, rook to g1, e takes d5, c takes d5, rook to e8, bishop to e5, and these are moves that Fritz gave me. He was able to find the mate in 7. I'd never seen it. I knew black had a winning game, but to find mates that far down the line was way beyond my mental capabilities. Next is rook takes e5, rook to g8 check, king to d7, rook to g1, protecting the mating square g2. Black plays rook to e1, and now rook takes e1 and queen to g2. And that last maneuver by black after the rook to g1, he plays the rook to e1. Of course, he's threatening to mate at g1, but also he's removing a defender of the g2 square, which was a second mating square for black. And of course, white was forced to take rook takes, or queen to g2 and its mate. And that's just a mating. That last little bit was just a mating thing that you can use in your games, where you look for the square in which you can mate at, and you try to remove the defenders of those squares, and that gives you the opportunity to mate your opponent. Well, that was the game. It was a Bronstein-Larsen variation of the Caro-Kann. You can see how black used his pieces. They were very well coordinated in the attack, and twice he had to make choices of which piece to retake with, and he made the correct choice in both instances. And that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.